easy for the Knicks?
That's an interesting question. I think you can look at it two ways, and I think there's something to that. For one, the Knicks are the only 3 seeds since the playoffs have expanded to 16 teams. That was in 1984, since we go into 4 rounds. They're the only 3 seeds to get to the finals that did not have to beat a 1 or 2 seed to get there. Not their fault, it's just the way it laid out. And we all saw how the Cleveland Cavaliers absolutely quit after game 1. That was a despicable showing from that entire team. I think their coach, Kenny Atkinson, he might think it's a game 5 tonight because of the analytics. He might be surprised when there's nobody showing up at Rocket Arena tonight, but we'll just let him figure that out on the back end. But I do think with the way that the Knicks have destroyed the Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, yes, it speaks to their excellence, but it also begs the question, when you get to the finals, will you have a sticker shock of the altitude of, man, we haven't played a team this good at this level while these Western Conference teams are beating up on each other? They're used to the competition. I wonder if that's going to have some type of effect, at least early on, while the Knicks will be rested. But yeah, the Eastern Conference as a whole was pretty underwhelming this playoff.
Chris went on to say that he does not believe that Jalen Brunson is one of the greatest all-time Knicks. He is obviously a heavy Willis Reed guy. Where do you see Jalen fitting in? And then I'll ask you a follow-up.
I mean, Susie, are the Knicks like this hallowed franchise that I've been watching for 50 years? I mean, I'm not 50, but like it seems like the Knicks have had splotches of great teams. Like they had a Patrick Ewing era. They had an era in the 70s.
They had Frazier era. They had
Willis the Frazier era. Willis Reed and all of those guys. And they've won 2 championships. Yeah. And I think Walt Frazier and Willis Reed are up there. Certainly Patrick Ewing is probably the greatest Knick of all time, even though he has no championships. But I don't see there being this Mount Rushmore of great Knicks. They're not the Celtics. They're not the Lakers. They're not so many numbers in the rafters that you got to invent new numbers. It's like 5 or 6 up there. So if Jalen Brunson leads this team to a title, Mike Greenberg said it this morning, he's Joe Namath. He's the guy who will never have to pay for a meal in New York City ever again. You can put him in that top 4. You can banter with Carmelo Anthony or whomever else you want to knock off of that number 4 spot. But I think he's up there and he's earned that to get in that conversation with where the Knicks were when he signed in 2022. This was not a banner franchise, and he's been the headliner in this team, becoming a consistent contender in a NBA that does not allow for consistent contention.
I think he's going to get a lot of free drinks as it is right now. I have a feeling that he'd be just fine on 7th Avenue, walking in wherever he wants and grabbing anything he wants from the top shelf. That said, who is this guy? You know, he's kind of a fascinating person to break down. Obviously took a pay cut to have a stronger team around him, grew up around basketball. Leon Rose is his godfather. So break it down for me. Like, how do you explain who Jalen Brunson is and what makes him tick?
That's amazing because to some degree, Jalen is very polished in a lot of ways. Like he will say the right thing and sometimes he'll say nothing. He'll give you not necessarily a word salad, but he won't let you in. But the guys around him, that's how you wind up figuring out who Jalen Brunson is. You watch his interactions with Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges and those players and OG Anunoby, the guys who have to protect him. It's almost like a quarterback with his offensive line. You can tell how much a team likes the quarterback by how well the offensive line protects him. Because Jalen Brunson's not a perfect superstar. He's a guy that has to have his other players around him protect him on defense and not allow him to get hunted, and to allow him to take the shots and take command of the offense while not taking it personal if you're his teammates and you're only getting scraps every now and again. You have to really love your leader. Guys have to really play for you. And playing in New York City, it's not for everybody. Leon Rose can be your godfather. Rick Brunson can be your dad. But when you're out there, it's just you. And I think there's a calmness to him. There's a fire to him. There's this underdog mentality or 2nd round pick. The Dallas Mavericks didn't want to re-up him at the money that they re-upped him at, so he wound up going to New York. Like, there's a lot of things that make him him, but I think he's built for the pressure of New York. He's built for the Knicks franchise. And like you said, he took the pay cut, $100 million pay cut that he could have signed for more. I want to know, what did his financial advisor say to him when he came to him and said, hey, brother, say we're going to take a haircut here. But I just think it speaks to the competitive character and the fact that he's a winner. Is he a champion? We're going to find out. Yeah,
that's not a haircut. That is like a Rapunzel-like chop, right? That is like some serious locks falling from a castle. I am surprised, or I'm not surprised. I'm enjoying watching the chemistry of some of these young guys. The Villanova three, watching the personality of these players from the Knicks, and they are, everyone loves to talk about, are they loose? They're very loose. And you're right, they're sitting back and watching. I'm enjoying watching Josh Hart. I covered him when he was a baby, when he was with the Lakers for 15 minutes, and just watching him grow into who he is. You start to, like, if you've been covering the NBA long enough, you look for the tea leaves, right? You look for, signs that a team has, it's you-know-what together. And there is that feeling that the Knicks have it. There's that playing in the garden. There's that us against the world mentality. This is not about history. This is just about feelings. My feeling watching this, especially, and I do think that, look, OKC's OKC for a reason. Shea's the MVP for a reason. But you start to smell something in the wind. And there's something about that I'm getting from the Knicks. I'm curious about what you're getting as we look at the finals, knowing that the West is still at play.
When I'm walking through Manhattan and I'm smelling something, I don't think it's roses and NBA finals. It feels like the incinerator.
Or if you're on Central Park South, you know what that is. It's got to be the carriages.
Yeah, it ain't nothing great, right? But I tend to agree with you that, like, you look at them and you say they're playing over their heads right now, and the competition isn't great. But you're playing over your head for a reason, because you're taking this with the appropriate approach. And they look like a team that's playing better than anybody. It's not about what you do throughout the 82-game season, although that's very important. It's who's playing the best at the right time and who's healthier. And that's what the Knicks are. And if nothing else, this run of winning games by 18 points a night, it breeds more confidence. And it breeds that, hey, if we continue to do the right things, defense, rebounding, share the ball, all the basic tenets that your fifth grade coach tells you about, they're doing it at such a high level. You don't want to be the guy that breaks the chain. You don't want to be the guy that takes the bad shot. You don't want to be the guy that lets his man go by him on defense and all of a sudden someone else has to take the hit for that. So there's an accountability that even goes beyond the coaching staff. There's an accountability, I feel like, that goes from the locker room to the players. It extends. And those are the things that create a championship thread. I would not be surprised. I think if you take me back to the start of the playoffs, I would have been surprised if I said, hey, the Knicks are going to win a championship. But with the way that they've played, their expectation internally should be to win the championship no matter.
In the three closeout games, 39.3 points. So what has been the key to the Knicks going for the jugular and not taking their foot off the gas?
One thing I would cite, Eamon, is Miles McBride saying after their last loss, Game 3 in Atlanta, he said there was a mentality shift where before, he said the Knicks, we know we're a good team. We're kind of waiting for the other team to give us the game. The shift was, we know we're a good team. We have to go out and get the game. And so I think it's partially that. It's partially the attention to detail that these guys have right now on both ends of the floor. And they're totally locked in. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns last night was saying that in the locker room, players were talking about, hey, let's get back to work. Let's get back on the practice floor. Let's figure out how we can deal with this long rest in a way that we didn't deal with it as well last time. So, yeah, these guys are totally locked in on a level that I haven't seen in a long time.
Now, to put this return to the NBA Finals in perspective, you have a column up on SNY.TV about all the moves Leon Rose made to build this team. As you did your research, what stood out to you as the biggest domino that Rose pulled off to construct this current roster?
Yeah, so the one I didn't mention, because it's the obvious one, is trading Alec Burks, trading Nerlens Noel to clear up the cap space to sign Jalen Brunson. But you look under the hood there, Donovan Mitchell was right there for the Knicks a few months after they signed Brunson. The idea of pairing those two guys together was something that was heavily debated internally. They made